guys know that I've been doing these videos for almost 2 years now. I have such a good time talking to my guests. And here's Gail. Hey, Gail.
It worked.
Welcome. So glad to have you in the house.
I know. I'm excited. It looks like we're right around the corner from each other, but can you tell my viewers where you are? They won't believe me.
I am in the jungle in Panama. I am here on the Costa Rican border, on the Panama side of the border, and I am the steward of a 16-acre organic farm, as well as coaching my clients over the internet. And so, Gail, where are you?
I'm in Chicago. Very boring in the United States.
Oh, I don't think Chicago is boring. You've got some of the best art museums in the whole world.
That's true. That's true. But I really crave the gardens that you create and that you are surrounded by, and the caw that you wake up to in the morning.
There are a lot of birds here. That is absolutely true. Gail, before I introduce you, I just want to welcome Linda and Denise and Daniel. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. It is really wonderful to have you. We are going to get started right away. And with that, let me just go ahead, you guys, and introduce my special guest tonight. Everyone, this is Gail Sussman-Miller, and Gail works with women leaders who feel depleted by their work and have lost their career joy. How many of us really can understand and feel into that? The wonderful thing is that Gail actually helps them to reclaim the work that they love and get their joy back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Awesome.
We've been planning this for a while.
You know, we have. That's kind of how it works with things in the jungle, right? You guys, I'll just tell you. I'll tell you.
In their season.
I had lost my power all day long, and I was really afraid we were going to have to reschedule this. And just at 5:30, the power came back on. So happy to be able to fulfill this intention of being able to speak with you today.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad.
So Gail, I'm dying to know your backstory. How did you come to working with women professionals who are struggling with career joy and feeling depleted? I'm so curious.
Well, it's a fun story because I became the client of a coach before I knew what coaching was.
Okay.
So I was kind of going along in my career, doing what I thought you do, living for Fridays, just kind of getting a paycheck and doing something that I thought I liked well enough. I got laid off right after coming back from my honeymoon, and I turned to a woman that I knew from some personal growth work I'd done, and I said, I think I need to talk to you. So we started talking. I hired her. I didn't know she was a coach. I just knew she was helping me.
Oh.
And not long after I got laid off, I attended a conference for coaches, and I suddenly was just smacked in my forehead and thought, this is work that is made just for me. Like, I came home to my profession. I came home. And then I went into coach training, and as they say, the rest is history. So since 2001, I've been coaching. And I kind of laugh because I call myself a midlife bloomer, baby boomer. I came, since the age of 41, I found the love of my life. I got married for the first time at the age of 46. I found my true work in coaching. And I became a stepmom, and now I'm a step grandmother, and I'm pretty happy. I didn't overcome right at the moment by how happy I am.
Oh my God, Gail, I just want to celebrate this just for a second. I really want to stop right here because so many women get to their 40s and their 50s and they're burnt out and they're not happy and they're struggling through the daily grind, and they know they've got another 10 or 20 years left before they can really retire. And what you just said just now, I mean, it just lit me up because because it's all possible. It is all absolutely possible. And you've just stepped up and said, look at me, I have done it. I've created my dream.
Yeah. Well, and the things that I hear from other women are that maybe they're divorced, or they've just written off marriage and thought that there's no way that could happen. And one of my favorite problems to run across in women in careers is where they're tolerating, putting up with, sacrificing. Maybe they're the maid breadwinner and they're doing what they do because they have to make the money, or they're letting other people get credit at work. They're not speaking up. There's a lot of things, because I believe, and I'm generalizing, that we're nurturers as women. So we often put other people first. And if it's for the greater good, we're willing to sacrifice. And I think that sometimes we overdo it. And there are ways to speak up and ask for what we want.
Yeah.
We don't have to be in people's face. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It can simply be clear and assertive.
Hey, it looks like we've got some Millers in the house. Denise is saying that Gail has always inspired her, not only as a sister, but as a professional. That's beautiful. And Steve Miller says he's here. So you've got some love and support in the house tonight.
That's the Miller of Gail Sussman-Miller. That's Mr. Miller, my husband, and my sister-in-law.
Steve, so good for you to be here, giving your love and support to your sweetie. Oh, you guys are breaking my heart, man.
It is fun. He's in the living room and I'm over here.
Oh my gosh. So tell me a little bit more about what inspires you about the work that you're doing.
Part of it I think is because some of it's my story. I've always loved to teach. And that moment when women just get it, or they say, it's like there's that, I don't know the name of this game where you put logs on and more logs and you keep building up. And if you just change, you just change one, it changes the whole thing. So it's discovery, it's empowerment. Even before I was a coach, and I told you that we live in Chicago. So have you ever been to Chicago, Lynn?
I haven't. I can't even.
Okay, so on Michigan Avenue, which is where a lot of our hotels are in the big shopping district, I often run across people standing on the corner, and they're like studying a map, and they're looking around, and I have always just loved to come up to people and say, how can I help you? And rather than just say, well, go here, go there, I say, well, so here's where you are. And our city is organized this way by addresses by the hundreds, and you want to go to this 100. And I have always wanted to give people the tools, not just tell them what to do. And that's why coaching is so natural for me. So I really think, I often tell women, you're here and you want to get there. Like this island of their full potential is where they want to get. And that I'm going to help, we're going to get there together. But they always think it's so far away. And I say, it's really just around the corner. It's just a couple of new insights or new perspectives, and practicing those. And then suddenly everything else seems more possible. Yeah. And then we get a little further, and then the view is even clearer. Everything's coming into focus. So I just think it's fun. It inspires me. And I have to tell you that I love hearing and teaching others messages I need to hear every day. I don't think we're ever done.
Gosh, I believe that. I believe that lifelong learning is why we're here on this planet. Uh, boy, just, the day that I stop learning, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about this career joy? I mean, joy is such an important word for me because, I think that's where we need to come from every single day, find that smile, to let the smile come to our heart, really be that joy. And it's, for me personally, I feel like it's a choice. We get to choose. Do we want to feel joyful, or do we want to feel angry, frustrated, disappointed, depressed? Not always, but you know what I mean.
Yes, yes. So one of my favorite comments was, because that's really a term, I took those two words and joined them at the hip only a couple years ago in the program where I met you. And I had one or two women have said to me, career joy sounds like an oxymoron. How can you possibly enjoy work and enjoy your career to the point of joy, not just like, but really joy? And that's what really lights me up, is realizing how it's sometimes available in the job we're in, and sometimes it requires finally saying, this really isn't what I want to be doing, and to believe that it's possible. And usually the problem is it's figuring out what's the first step, or believing we deserve it, and then how to go after it.
Probably one of the first steps is believing it. Just knowing that we deserve it.
I would agree.
I got distracted because Michelle Evans is typing comments. She said,
"Oh, okay.
2 women she loves the mostest."
I love it. Yeah. And by the way, I am keeping my Facebook window open if people have questions as we go along.
Exactly.
That I can.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. And I'm monitoring the comments. So if we do have questions, I'll make sure that we get that in. Don't hold back, people. Hey, Troy, nice to see you tonight. So yeah, I mean, the worthiness factor. Are we actually worthy to have that career, or to really know that what we do is of purpose, and does it light us up?
Yeah. So it's really it can be as simple as thinking, what do I love to do? And it doesn't have to have a title, and you don't have to know what the job title would be, but how would you like to spend your day? What are activities that you love to do? And maybe just for some of your viewers, it can be just making a list of things. I like to give me the biggest mess. I like to straighten out messes. Helping people communicate better, facilitating a group of people to get them to come to a solution, teaching. It could be creativity. And then it's just beginning to think of what you enjoy doing. And it might be that it's available in the world you're already in, but you have to ask for it.
Well, what I love about the things you just mentioned is they really are things of service, of being out there and being of service in the world. And not to say that every job needs to be of service, but for myself personally, I found that when I'm able to be of service, I have an awful lot more joy in my life.
I think it's just it's that, and it's honoring that you have a preference, and that there's something that gives you energy rather than drains you. So if things are draining energy and they're not done with happiness, you don't look forward to it or even hate it. The people aren't right. The culture isn't right. It could be the tasks are fine, or the mission doesn't light you up. Are you embarrassed by what you do, or a culture can be a really big one. I've been through that.
Yeah. So Michelle is asking, how do you find what brings you joy? Do you have any tips, any pro tips, or even besides just writing down, do you have any exercise that you lead your clients through that can help them, find what it is that is joyful for them?
So the list is actually very powerful, more so than it seems. I had a client, I asked her to write down 25 things that she likes to do.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Which is a lot. That's a lot. Just activities, actual things. And after doing the exercise, she actually started a business based on number one on the list. She just needed to see it. She just needed to say it. Another thing is to think about a memory of a time, and it doesn't have to be something you ever got paid for. It could have been something you did for your synagogue or your church or a group of friends. Stories of times that you really enjoyed, that you still remember. I have a few of those that are probably 20 years old. And then to look for the common thread between those stories. Even in our resume, going back at resume work and personal, and just seeing all the things that were really fond memories and looking to see what's the pattern and what the thread is going through all of it.
That's a great idea.
So, you know, good. I'm glad you like it. One of the times that I remember for me is one of my favorite stories to tell. And I took some novices out sailing on a sailboat, a 30-foot boat that my dad and I owned. My dad owned it, actually, and he had just finished teaching me enough so I could take it out without him. So he wasn't there, and I had no one who was skilled. The person I thought that was coming didn't show. And then while we were out sailing, the power went out. The battery died.
Oh, geez.
Well, I only knew in theory what it was I was supposed to do. How to get the boat in under sail and pull up to a buoy, drop the sail, and cast on. The point is, I love being calm under pressure and figuring things out and leading people. And I never would have known back then. That was when I was still just working for money and living till Friday.
Yeah.
But I never would have known that that was something that it shows up a lot in my coaching and in the way I am with my family and friends. I'm just calm under pressure. I actually like being put on the spot. It's a weird thing. Like this interview. I just like showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you can find that thread and that pattern, maybe it's coming up, being very creative, coming up with totally new ideas, starting with a blank sheet of paper, whatever it is that you love to do.
Well, you know what? I love this idea of the thread. And I had never thought of it like that. But I had this thought while you were saying that is when I was in high school, I was really into my garden. I'm going to admit it now. I actually skipped school so that I could go plant my garden. That's how into it I was. And, I never really thought very much about it. But look at what I'm doing right here now. Stewarding this land, planting cacao trees, and feeding people with sustainably grown organic food. That's the thread.
Yeah. How far back does that date? Was that high school or grade school?
82.
Well, then I'd have to ask you what grade you were in, but I don't want to necessarily reveal your
senior in high school in 1982.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I was just 18 years old, 28, 38, 40. So that's 35 years ago or so. And, so that thread got reconnected, 28 years after it got, the first stitch
in the thread. Oh, it's funny because I wasn't thinking of it that way, but yes, it is that kind of thread.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
A literal thread that we can actually look at. I'm such a visual thinker, so.
Yes. So there's something I would like to teach your audience, and I think I want to make sure we have enough time.
Let's do it.
May I take over? All right. So I'd like those who are listening live or who will be listening later to think of what it feels like when you are triggered by a situation, either something someone says to you, maybe it's at work, or socially, or an event happens, and you immediately get triggered, and you're tempted to just react and to say what you're thinking, maybe regret it later. But right now, it just feels like it'd be so good to just give into the impulse. And how that plays out in your life. We all have an immediate reaction. It's what we do after we react that matters. So I want you to remind everyone that your reaction is yours. We often say, so-and-so made me feel, you made me feel. There can be a stimulus or a trigger, and it could be something that one of us says to each other. It's still your reaction. Just to remember, it's yours.
Yeah.
So I want to read a very powerful quote to everybody. It's very short, but I do need to read it. This is by Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning.
Okay.
He suffered through 4 different concentration camps in World War II. He lost his pregnant wife, he lost his family, and he came out of that experience as a psychiatrist and had this message that he taught his clients. Everything can be taken from a man or woman, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose your own way. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So if you think about the trigger being here, you have your reaction. You can either react and say what's on your mind, or you can pause. So I have actually this 4-step formula. I like to think in terms of numbers. Number 1 is the trigger or the circumstance, something that was said to you or something happened. You're standing in line somewhere and waiting. All of a sudden, it's going to be half an hour just to go get tickets at a window somewhere. Or someone says something to you. The second step is you immediately have a reaction. You okay there? You're having a little
I am. I'm
technical.
In the notes here so that we can remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can post it as a comment if you like when I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got
whatever you want. Okay. So the second thing is you have your reaction. And it's usually made up of the judgment and feelings. You have an emotion, maybe a couple, maybe you're angry, you might have fear, and you have a judgment. This person is rude, this person has just said something bad to me, this is right, or I've done something wrong. Now, normally we end it there and we just react. But I'm adding a third step, which is a pause. And that pause is a moment to reflect. Is this what it seems to be? Is this about me or is it about them? What's needed here? How do I want to come across? It's just, you might have to be silent for a moment. Maybe you have to walk away and say, excuse me, I'll be right back. But you need to take a pause where you reflect. And then the third step is to choose a thoughtful response. After you've calmed yourself down, after you've said, maybe they're having a bad day, maybe this is just how they act, because their stimulus, their remark to you, that's about them.
Yeah.
And when that pause, you can say, okay, all right, because we have an amygdala in our brain, that is still wired, that's our reptile brain that wants to either choose fight or flight. It's still alive in us, even though the threat is only a comment. So in that pause, you give yourself time to diffuse the trigger. And that's that space that Viktor Frankl talked about. And in that space, you can choose how you want to respond. And I like to say that it's being response-able, being responsible. Because it's your reaction, and you can choose a response. Now, sometimes you can do that right away. Sometimes we perseverate on it for 2 days saying, oh, I wish I hadn't said that. Oh, what must they think of me? I'd like to have done that differently. And then we start, if we're conscious about it, we start shortening that time to maybe a day later, then maybe an hour later, and where we call them back and we can actually recover. And then sometimes, then after some practice, it can be right in that moment to just step back, take a breath. We always think we have to immediately talk in conversations. We can have a pause. Silence is really effective. Give yourself time to think. Wait a minute, was that really what I thought? Is that about me? No, I'm really okay. I think I'll give a loving response. I think I'll think the best. I'll assume the best. And then give your response.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And it's simple. It's simple.
Well, it's simple, but I think for so many people, it's a muscle that needs to be exercised, because there is this automatic response that happens for so many people. And being able to it's almost like practicing not responding for a little bit of a pause, so that you can actually figure out, what's the appropriate response.
It's in emotional intelligence, it's impulse control. Yeah. And it is managing your emotion. And it's funny, in interviews, job interviews, one technique that is taught is to repeat the question. Because even you can do that mostly in your subconscious, but you're giving your brain time to think. So someone says, I think you've got that all wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's a good trigger. That would get me. And so it's like, oh, so you think I have it all wrong, or oh, so that's interesting that you would say that. Just in the time you say those words, your brain is already stepping back, and you can,
that's your built-in
put a buffer. Yeah, it's natural. It's very natural to have an immediate reaction. We want to be safe. That's one of our biggest drivers, is to be safe and protect ourselves, and to be loved and liked. So in that moment, if that's in danger, we're gonna go to protect. And it could be, it's funny because sometimes that happens with me and my husband, and I'll just say, did you mean this? Did you mean to say it this way? No, that's not, I didn't mean it that way. Okay.
And it's just the way things land for us, because we are in a certain headspace or a different kind of emotional space in this moment. And so something very simple that's said to us could land and really create tension or stress or something that wasn't even intended in the place.
And you know that it happens even more in Facebook or in email where there is no voice. So it's sort of checking it out. Check it out. You can test it.
Yeah. I very much like the suggestion of almost repeating it back, just asking for that clarity before we go, oh my God, it's like, Wait a minute, I just want to understand. Is this what you said? Can I understand it in this format?
Yeah, and I'm kind of a big fan of saying the truth. Like, well, I just had a reaction from that. I want to make sure I'm right, or I just want to check this out. Or, different choice of words or language or culture doesn't mean what you said.
And
I think
go ahead.
it helps to, the more self-awareness you have, more consciousness and mindfulness, you can step out of that reaction and even just observe yourself or observe what happened. Like suddenly you're a third person watching, and that helps you detach also. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to circle back around to the corporate culture, the career joy, to feeling depleted, and how my sense is that sometimes this is coming for us because of the culture in the workplace, and because we're not actually asking for for clarification. We're just assuming a lot of times. And so this whole concept of stepping back a minute and clarifying, it can actually make your job a lot more, joyful, because you're not automatically taking it on as if you're wrong, you're bad, you're not doing right. You're actually getting the clarity that can give you, it could even be praise or kudos or things of that nature.
You're really capturing something interesting, where I've had people say, well, what other way could you possibly take this? Like, it's just that assumption and jumping to conclusions and thinking, well, there's no other way they could have meant it. Why should I ask? And then finding out it isn't. I've had clients read an email to me, 2 sentences, where it just says, let me think about this, I'll get back to you. And they say, see how judgmental they are? And I said, these are neutral words. There's something else, some history or something that has you going to that place. It is amazing how our brains work. And if it's a competitive environment, then people will assume the worst. Or if they're feeling at risk in their job, there's so much that contributes to jumping to that conclusion.
Yeah. Wow, Gail, what you've just offered is really brilliant advice. Really, it's a great strategy, not only for the workplace, but for our relationships, for, relationships with a spouse, with our families, even our friends. I mean, really, if we just could embody those 4 steps, when we're triggered, to look at our reaction, to take a pause, and then to choose a thoughtful response. That's, wow, it feels, I can just feel that in my body. Like, instead of feeling stressed and tight, there's a looseness. Michelle Evans is saying, that's the problem with text communication. It's always read through the mood of the reader rather than the intention of the writer. Bingo.
One of my favorite quotes is that we don't listen to understand, we listen to respond. So we're on the offense. We're protective. Yes. I don't want to look stupid. I want to look smart. I want to say the right thing. And we just hear the first few words, and we're already thinking, oh, wait a minute, is this a judgment? Am I being judged? What do I have to do to protect myself? And when you can relax a little and know that you'll handle it.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It is really interesting. And in the work that I do with my clients, I try to help them out of even worrying about being judged, because that is just it's a bad road to go down.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Gail, this has
Well,
been such a fabulous conversation. I've really enjoyed just diving in, hearing a little bit about your backstory, your inspirations, and this pro tip has been really helpful. I really hope that people can walk away with a new tool to put into their toolbox.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just reading another one. Oh, okay.
Michelle
Yeah,
saying
Denise is
so
saying,
true,
or maybe just
to listen
say nothing.
conscious of that.
Right,
So is there
right.
anything else that you would like to share with our viewers tonight? Anything else that we've left out that you feel is really important?
You know, no, I don't think so, but I would like to make two offers to your listeners.
Great.
One is
Yeah.
if I'll give you my contact information in a moment, and I think that people can write to me. You tagged me in the post, right, with the video, so they can write to me there. So I have a more detailed handout that explains what I use as a thought formula and how to change results by not just changing your actions, but going back to your choices, and before that your feelings, and before that your thoughts. So it's self-explanatory, and I can email it to people. And if anyone is wondering how to apply this four-step formula to their own life, or they have a situation, or just in the time we've been talking, it's not clear, then I'd be happy to spend a half hour on the phone and walk you through it and help tailor it to your situation, or maybe a habit that you have that you think is, you can't imagine breaking.
That's wonderful. And Gail, just because we will be putting this up on YouTube where the comments from Facebook won't transfer over, why don't you go ahead and just say your email address so that if anyone does
Okay,
contact you, they can just write it down
good.
now.
So it's Gail at inspiredchoice.com. That's GAIL at inspired with a D, INSPIRED choice.com. And I'm happy to respond and see, where I can be of some help.
That's wonderful. That's a beautiful offer. Thanks for sharing that with everyone. Wow. Yeah.
It's so, it's fun for me to see people liberate themselves. And there's just this, it seems small, but this kind of a choice can have a really big impact.
Yes. And I really believe this is where we're moving with in this world right now, is into understanding that we really do have a choice in what it is that we bring into our life. So if it is something that we want career joy, it's a choice for us to change it up or to get on the bandwagon or whatever it is to bring that into our life. He's going to come hand it to us on a silver platter. So, yeah.
It really is. It is about listening to your heart. And sometimes you really just don't have a clue, or you don't think you can make money doing that, or just not knowing where to start. So you've got Lynn to call on. You can call on me there, or, there are ways to get help.
Absolutely.
So
a lot of support in this world right
now. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, gosh, it's such a pleasure. I'm so glad we could do this. I'm so glad my power came back on so that we could just make it happen. So everyone, Gail Sussman-Miller, take her up on her offer for her document that outlines the 4 steps, and call her up. Have a conversation with her. Go through the 4 steps and get real crystal clarity on how you move yourself out of any kind of depletion or any kind of feelings of lack or or just not knowing how to move yourself forward. Really, it's such a great resource, and I'm so happy to share with you all tonight. Yeah. And don't forget to
Got a kiss for you.
you guys, don't forget to check out YouTube, because the whole library of past talks is there, and there are some amazing guests. Gail's interview will be archived there in about a week, so you can always go back and listen. I know it's really hard to find things on Facebook, so my Lynn Bishop YouTube channel is probably the best place. It's just becoming a beautiful library. So head over there, subscribe, and you guys can download whatever it is that interests you. All right. Good night, everyone. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I've got a special guest in 2 weeks to talk about abundance.
Nice. Okay, bye.
Happy evening. Bye, Gail.